Welcome to the worst nightmare of all. Reality.
Explore the lesser-known stories of our unknown world. Join the pursuit of the paranormal with Ash and Greg.
Welcome along. In this episode, we're going to speak to Dr. Christopher Macklin. Before we get into what you do currently with the Global Enlightenment Project and what that is and what you do to help people, I'd really like to start with what got you into the whole paranormal, UFO, ET world. How did it all begin?
Well, it's interesting. When I was born, after about 3 or 4 years old, I mean, things have happened. When I was born, I had 8 strokes, got attacked. Then I burnt my back when I was 4. And then after that, it was quite bad, actually. I was in hospital for a year. It was actually a pot of tea, believe it or not. But don't tell anyone that.
Very English.
It's bad for street cred. Yeah, very pot of tea. But what's interesting after that, I remember, seeing these beings, like Anunnaki. They're very tall. They look like velociraptors, and they were like in your bedroom. And I used to say to my father, Dad, there's a reptilian thing in my bedroom. Oh, it's just a bad dream, and they kept appearing. But what's interesting about them is that if you get visited by a negative being like an ET, and they're in a different dimension, same space but different time, it means that, you can feel this very dark feeling in your chest, like, wow, these are not good, we need to get rid of them. And I realised that people couldn't see them, even the age of 4, so I managed to get them out of my bedroom just by saying, well, I command you go now, and it went. I thought, oh, that worked. So went through the, different beings coming and going, and then as I got older, I could see. Well, I could also see ships in the sky, and I thought, Dad, there's a thing in the sky. Look, it looks like a UFO thing, And, oh no, it's just bad dream, because of course you're seeing through the veil, and they don't have the gift of seeing that. So moved on with life. Got dragged into the corporate system. Got degrees and masters in Cranfield in flight control systems. Got some PhDs now. So what? Who cares? So and. What's interesting about that, I was in the corporate world for 20 odd years and absolutely detested it, and I kept thinking, is this it? There's got to, I used to look at these huge companies and they're just like so incompetent, you think, I don't know what to do. But anyway, worked for them, earned a ton of money. And in 2007, what I did is, because of the 2000 crash, because of, the software system, resetting supposedly, which didn't happen. Everything just plummeted, so I couldn't get a job in that anymore. So meanwhile, I was investing in houses. I was buying houses in Chester, houses all over the place. And I got about 30 or 40 houses and rent them out. And then suddenly I thought, I've got a good idea. Let's build 176 apartments in Manchester. What a great idea. Not. So I bought this land and, it was the wrong time. So anyway, I bought it and started to get the architects on it, and then the bank phoned up. It was linked to the Royal Bank of Scotland, and they said, "Do you know this land? The apartments are worth 220,000. They're now worth £90,000. You've got 14 days to pay the money back." And I thought, oh God! And it was interesting because I was served papers. Within the 40 days, of course. I did tell them, will £10 do? And they didn't seem to see the funny side, because this is millions of pounds. Anyway, I remember the poor guy who served me the papers. He goes, I'm really sorry. But I said, look, it's not your fault. It's my stupid fault for believing in banks that are really, rotten to the core. Anyway, served the papers, went bankrupt, marriage split up, everything. And so I ended up in a car. I was living in a car, which is a Volkswagen Polo. Now I'm 6'5", so of course it was kind of a bit of a struggle, but my wardrobe was in the back. I got OCD from this, and I lived on the car, stayed with people sometimes, went through experiences where, like near the A1M motorway, I went to a hotel once and I was just sitting outside for a bit of a rest, and a guy comes up to me and said, so what do you do for a living? I do healing, and he said, well, have you got a room here? I said, no, I kind of live out the car. well, I'll get you a room if you do my healing. So, these things appeared all the time. It was amazing. But anyway, so I went bankrupt. Sometimes didn't have money for food or whatever. It was a real education. I wasn't actually physically on the street, but, I was living out of a car, trying to stay with people. I was sponsored to go to, went to India, went to Gambia, went to Europe and doing different things. But, I learned that, I ended up on the unemployment benefit and, which is a blessing because I was trying to get a job and, I was trying to everything. I went for 40, 50 jobs, couldn't get anything. And one day I sat back, I said, why can't I get a job to the beings? I said, well, you're not meant to. I said, well, why is that? Concentrate on the healing. Oh, okay. And suddenly all the stress went away. Don't need to get a job. Forget that. And focused on the healing for 4 years. Probably meditating between 4 and 6 hours a day. They showed me cause and effect. They showed me everything. Weird stuff was happening. I was testing weird things out, with the gifts. And from that, I was invited to go to Belize. So I went to Belize and, stayed there for a bit and met this lady from Hollister, which is where the ministry building is right here in Missouri. And I came down there, stayed with her father and her, and from that started to develop the gifts. It was incredible. But, Belize was amazing because Chantavich is one of the Mayan temples. Now, we know the Mayans were kind of crazy because they used to pull people's hearts out and do satanic stuff. They were completely misguided, but the temples they built were very powerful. They're on ley lines, and I went in this temple and they showed me my past lives, which I realized what I'm meant to be doing now. And it all took off from there. So in 2010, I moved to America and, got married eventually and set up the Christopher Macklin Ministries, which now is part. The Global Enlightenment Project is a project of the actual ministry. It's a 501c3. It's a non-for-profit. So we set that up to really help people and get them out of this cancer, death thing and all these sort of silly things because, most disease or problems with your body is caused by imbalance, and it's emotion. It's all emotion. But along the way, I've been attacked a lot. I think 5 years ago, I was dusted with a bioweapon. I don't know you're okay with this, but it was called 2 malaria. 2 malaria, it's collected here. And in fact, I've got rid of it. I got really sick, and worked on myself. I was okay. And it's 2 malaria. If you look up 2 malaria on Google, it's the MI6 who actually collect it. It's from rats. It's very, very powerful. And they added a binding agent and a solvent to deliver it through the skin. So all this stuff's going on. Obviously, they don't like what I'm saying. Never mind. It's just life. So, it got me to here. And, now we work on thousands of people a week, help as many people as possible, especially starseed people, I think it's important to people realize if you're a starseed, you're going to get attacked relentlessly by these negative beings, as we call them. I'm going to talk about the positive ones in a minute, but the negative beings are Anunnaki, Draconians, Luciferians, Archons, and kind of first and second dimensional snake beings. And they're just there. They've kind of clubbed together to try and, when they attach to you, it kind of drops your vibration. And so it's really important to get those removed. And so we you call it exorcism, but I just remove them and, send them back to God. And, because it blocks the meridians, they sit in the abdomen, they create problems with the intestines, they create problems with the liver, kidneys, they hang on the shoulder or neck, so you get tight neck, tight shoulders. They tap in the lower back, destroy the L5, 4L5 disc, and send you negative thoughts. And that's why people get all these negative thoughts coming like, you're useless, or that's pathetic, commit suicide. And all these thoughts just overwhelm people because it's 24/7. You remove these things, thoughts are gone. So I'd encourage the listeners, if you're getting negative thoughts, they're not yours. You're an amazing being, they're not yours. So, if you want any help, you can obviously come to us or try and help yourself. But these are ETs in themselves. They are in a different dimension, the fourth dimension, but they're part of this one world order thing that's going on that they're manipulating people.
Wow.
that was quite the intro.
You end of the first lesson. Bless your heart.
So I just want to go back a little bit to when you said you were job hunting, and then you sort of asked, like, what do I need to do? help me, and he got the answer about like go do the healing. Who gave that answer?
It was actually the Melchizedek beings. There's 5 Melchizedek beings. I was born as one, and I learned that fairly early on. There's 5 here. And, we're meant to be doing stuff. And so I learned all this in Belize when I was heightened by the Mayan temple. And of course, when you connect to your starseed family, you can talk to them. And I was almost in tears, like, I can't get a job. Why can't you get a job? And I talked to Melchizedek beings, why can't I get a job? Well, you're not meant to. Why are you trying? And we're programmed that you've got to work, you've got to pay your taxes in this third dimensional. I was going to say bullshit, but blah blah blah. Let's talk blah 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 because it's bullshit's a bit. Crass. But it's true.
You can swear. That's fine.
But it's third dimensional bullshit. That's what it is. They're programming you to get stressed out. And I'll tell you, when I went bankrupt, it was the most amazing thing. Do you know why? Because it actually let go of everything. I had no money, but I had no debt. And the debt was piling up. Millions of pounds. And if you're in the club, the Illuminati club, they would just sort it all out. But of course, there's no way I'd ever be in there. So they're there to try and pull you down. But what a blessing it was. It changed my life forever. I remember 20 years ago, I went to Birkenhead to a reader. And she was an old lady, and I sat with her, and she, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's what they're saying. Well, they're saying that you're going to get remarried. What? You're going to go live in America. Okay. You're going to work for God. Okay. And you're going to live off donations. And I remember walking out of that thinking, this woman's nuts, it arrived. Here we are. We do exactly that. We live off donations, work for God, or whoever you define God. I define God as God, Goddess, Prime Creator. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Buddhist. I believe in one God, many paths. But I work for God. I surrender, and that's part of the key to me is surrender. People don't really understand what that means, but if you really surrender and do God's work, you always get blessed. Always get blessed.
So I want to take it back a bit further to where you started as a young child and started to see these beings, and so you're asking your parents or telling your parents that you're seeing these things, these creatures are here. You're seeing ships and craft in the sky, and they're just telling you it's a bad dream. It's nothing. How are you feeling about that? Because obviously you're seeing something and they're not. What is going through your mind at that point?
Well, even at a young age, I think if you're a starseed, your soul, my soul's like really old. And so even at a young age, you get like a lot of wisdom about things that people don't get. And I felt in my heart of hearts that I am seeing this and there's something wrong that they can't see it and I can. And I also realised as well that if I didn't shut up, they're probably going to put me on some sort of drugs to calm me down or something else, So, I've got severe dyslexia. You might say, well, how the heck do you write all these books? I didn't. Well, I did. It's my information, but I can't write. I when I read, I don't know if you guys have got dyslexia, but when you read, you read a sentence and that doesn't make sense because you missed half the words out. And so you read it again. And it's frustrating, of course, in English schools at that time because I was born in 1962, so I'm about 24 years old. Well, maybe forget it. But, that time, reading was it, So I was in the remedial class, brilliant at maths, but terrible at reading. So I was in the remedial class for the whole of my life until someone, said, this guy's got dyslexia and realised and, then things changed. But I think, it was hard because it was frustrating, struggled at school, didn't fit in with people, I work on thousands of people. I get so many people say, well, I don't fit in this world. I said, well, don't even try, or they say, well, I think God dropped me off at the wrong planet, this is not my planet. Well, it's not. The reason why you volunteered here is, of course, the third dimensional rules are that even Prime Creator can't intervene with this because it's free will. So how do you get over that? Well, what you have to do is prime some beings who are willing to come down to you and, put up with all the blah, blah, blah. And, once they're down here, they can actually call, angelic beings or, Melchizedek beings, Arcturians, the different races to come down and help. If you don't do that, it gets over the third dimensional rules. And that's important. That's why there's so many starseeds here. The problem you've got is that they know who the starseeds are, and so they try and take you out or do something with you, and they spiritually attack you. I see it all the time. It's kind of crazy.
So when did you first realise that you had the gift to heal other people?
I think when I was younger, I realised I was really different because it just didn't fit in. But really, the gift, I really looked at the gifts when someone was very close to was dying of cancer, and I started working on them, and suddenly it was gone. Somebody else had wasn't muscular dystrophy. It's that thing. What's the name of it? Where you get infection, like in the lungs, and then it clumps and it goes hard. And what's that called? I forget anyway. But this poor girl, she was only about 7, and she had this disease, and it took me 4 weeks. We got rid of it, and I'm thinking, wow, this really does work. And so, I perfected it. The problem with healers, in general, is that they don't spend enough time understanding their gift, because everyone's gift is different. Mine works probably in a different way than somebody else's. So you've got to kind of meditate and ask them to show you cause and effect. How do I deal with it? Like Morgellons disease, which is, nanotechnology, that's rife, all over the world. And yet most people don't understand how it works. You can't give people normal energy with Morgellons disease because they get huge die-off, brain fog, problems with their intestines, and so it'll make them really sick. So I perfected a new energy. It's called space-time continuum or tachyon energy. It's very electrostatic. And when you apply it to these particles, it breaks down the molecular structure, say with cancer tumors. Same with pathogens. These are all gain-of-function type things. So, it was really understanding the cause and effect so you can do a proper job instead of, let's just send them a bit of energy. And also perfecting psychic surgery as well. So, yeah. So it was really about, I would say, when I came here, probably 7 years. When I went bankrupt in 2007 is the time that I really started looking at myself and thinking, wow, why was I bothering with this daft third dimensional stuff? I'm meant to be doing healing, and started really focused on it. And that's when I went to Belize and I saw my past lives, and I thought, well, I'm doing the same thing now, only we're doing a little bit more because we've got the actual pyramid project, which I can talk about in a minute. So, and, after that, I just perfected it and, surrendered my life to doing God stuff, service to others. And after that, you never have to worry about money. I get so many people, like Love and Light Brigade, well, I'm of service, I'm really spiritual, but of course I'm broke like everybody else. That doesn't resonate with me, because if you're really spiritual, you really surrender and you do God's work, you'll never go hungry ever. But, and that's what I learned from this journey. It was amazing.
So you say you saw your past lives. We've spoken to people in previous podcast episodes where we're talking about reincarnation and past lives. What did you see in your past lives whilst sort of on this journey to where you are today? What made you continue on doing what you're doing? Was that based on what you'd seen before?
It helped. One of the things I've learned with this lifetime is that a lot of starseeds over the last 4,000 years have come back many times. And they've been tortured, hung, put on crosses, whatever you want to do, burnt at the stake. Because, the reason why we're coming back many times is to really get up to speed about where this planet is. Because you can't just come here and do stuff. You've got to feel into how it works. What's the problems? And so each time you come back, and, I've come back several times the last 4,000 years, and, but it doesn't matter who you were in the past life. Someone says, I'm so-and-so, so what, who cares? Do you know what? It really matters what you do now, and I was born as Melchizedek being, and that means some starseeds can be born in the human body, some can't. the Melchizedek beings, you have to be spliced at birth. So your mother's abducted, they put the, egg or sperm in there to get enough DNA to get the soul in, because if there's not enough DNA, like body, you can't interface with the body. So I don't tell my father this, he's not my father. So,
Wow.
actually it's a crabby old shit, bless him, but, he doesn't get me at all, He's an accountant. If you do a cash flow forecast on this ministry, I said, Dad, it's God stuff, it just happens. You can't cash flow God. Well, that's ridiculous, he's just not taking responsibility, Okay, well, bye, And, we have an understanding now, but it's what it is.
So have you discussed this with your parents or your mum and your not dad, but have you discussed the fact that your mum was seeded, basically, and how
Oh,
you
no.
were? No.
He would think I'm completely nuts now. He thinks I'm nuts now. Come on, Dad, you're not my father. Well, your mother did. Can you imagine? Your mother didn't sleep around. No, it's not like that. It's on ships. You think I'm nuts. I mean, he thinks I'm nuts anyway. But it's quite interesting because he's, he very kind of gets some things, kind of not. We had a conversation with him about a month ago. He said, "Oh my God, we've got a problem." So what's that? It's global warming. I said, "Oh yeah," and he goes, "Well." I said, "What's causing it?" Cows passing wind. I said, "Oh, okay. So you're telling me that cows farting is creating global warming?" He said, "Yeah, the BBC told me." I said, "Oh, okay, whatever." I mean, I don't know what to do with him. He's 87, bless him. He's not going to change, so that's what it is. But a lot of people, a lot of starseeds have trouble with their families because they just don't understand them. Because they're not from here, and they don't fit in the matrix, so they stay out of it, And
so if you had an abduction experience yourself as you've been growing up?
yeah, I sit on the Galactic Federation. There's many federations out there, and people say Galactic Federation Light, whatever. This is run by the Melchizedek beings. I don't really know, but Akashic records were created by the Melchizedek beings, and they're here to police the time and space so it stays balanced. So what do we mean by that? Well, there's a few things. One is with things like Tesla technology or Tesla lights, things like this, they can open portals outside this third dimensional place. So it's like having a football. If you put too many holes in it, the space-time continuum or the air inside the football will change that much. People wouldn't be able to live in this time and space, the frequency. So we close those periodically. Second thing is there's a crystalline structure around the planet. And what happens is, if you guys have probably been feeling it, the collective emotion right now is off the charts. And people are feeling it. They're getting bad stomachs, don't know what to eat because they don't feel well. It's because the collective emotion builds up in the crystalline structure because we're supposed to be using it for telepathy. But of course, no one uses it anymore because they're not trained in it. But this crystalline structure, when it builds up, us and the Actorians actually clear it probably once a week. And they go in and clear it using their craft or whatever. And then, it feels better and then you builds up again and clear it. So, because if it gets too bad, people get just so overwhelmed, they feel despairing, they could commit suicide. And to me, that's really important to take care of. So we do that. And we also have the Pyramid Project, which I'm here for. And I've got to be honest, I wouldn't be here on this planet if I wasn't doing something, because what's the point? I'm not here just to pay taxes and earn a bit of money. We're here to do some great things for people. So, it's and starseeds are here for the same reason.
So before we get onto the Pyramid Project and your Global Enlightenment Project, I know that part of the work you do is healing abductees and others who have suffered related negative ET trauma. Could you just tell us a little bit about what that kind of trauma is and how you go about healing people?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had a lot of people that have been abducted by the Greys. Now, the Greys were, if no one knows, they were involved with Hitler. They first contacted him, did a deal, abducting people, stealing their eggs, stealing the sperm, and making humanoids because they've destroyed their planet for technology. So you think, oh, great. So that's where all this technology, if you look for the last, 30, 40, maybe 30 years, the technology is so off the charts different than when it used to be. And the nanotech, you've got computer systems 10 to the minus 9 small, and so it just doesn't arrive. It comes from somewhere. So they gave us technology. It's like giving a 4-year-old the keys to a Ferrari. So of course, it's just crazy, and of course the greedy, use it against people, and whatever. There's a whole slew of things happening on this planet, which we're helping, of course. But so. Of course, they were abducting people. So what happens is when they come back, they wipe the conscious, but they can't wipe the subconscious mind. So these people, I remember one lady, she was in tears. She's in Florida, like, I feel as though I've been raped, my womb's aching and everything else. So I don't know what to tell you anyway. What we do is work on it and basically clear the meridians, work on it, with psychic surgery. So any scar tissue, they repair it. And, within a couple of days, she was good to go. But bless her, she was traumatized by it because, someone's basically paralyzed me, taken me on a ship, stole my eggs out of the ovaries and then put me back down here and you're good to go. But you're not, because people know. And I've seen it many times. So we've helped them, and release the emotion of it. And then, they're good to go. In fact, they become warriors then, like, well, you're not touching me again, and that's it. So they get this inner strength, which is really good. So a ton of people, but, I think I chaired a meeting with this Galactic Federation, which is 3 years last June, to take them off the planet. And so you say, okay, well, why don't you just take them off the planet? You can't just do that easily, because here's the deal. What's the difference between violation and education? Now, when you come down here, you know that there's going to be anti-attachments like Anunnaki, Draconians, and everything else. It's just part of what it is. It's like a classroom. So you come down here and you have to learn how to remove them and how to deal with them. To me, that's an education. A violation is when some race comes down, paralyzes you, steals your body bits, and then puts you back down here with no authority from you except the government. That was deemed a violation. So I had a meeting about it, and it was decided they're going to sweep them off the planet. So the Actorians took them off the planet, which is great for a bit. But they're kind of back, but they're very crafty. So what they do now is they kind of open a portal down here in people's houses where they're still in the portal. So they're not physically here in this time space. They're in the same space, but different time. So they've got over the banning of being on this planet. It's interesting to watch how manipulative these things are, So they come down, but not so much, But, it does create real problems if people have been abducted. It really does.
So how did you first get involved in the Galactic Federation side of things? How did that come about? Like you said, you chaired the meeting. I'm sort of interested, like where does that meeting take place? Are you there physically or is it spiritually?
Sometimes physically, it can be on other planets. It's interesting because they always wipe you conscious again because they don't want you to. Because again, you've got to think about it. CIA, FBI, all these people they can read minds, and so they can look where you've been. So they always wipe the conscious, but you can't wipe the subconscious. So, when I meditate on it, I can see where I've been. But sometimes they take you physically. They actually have a craft come over, they beam you up, and then they take you off. I could always tell when they do that because when you come back, you feel as though you're beaten with a baseball bat because these things go so fast, like 275 miles an hour. They go through wormholes. You can be at the other side of this the universe within 27 minutes. So if you've been on one of those craft, everything aches. You feel a bit nauseous, like, wow, this is nuts. But, sometimes they take your soul. If it's a different time-space continuum where the meeting's happening, they take your soul. So I remember with my wife, one day, they normally give you like 5 minutes notice. Okay, we need a meeting. We're going to take you, and it gives you enough time to lie on the bed. This time, it didn't happen. So I was collapsed on the floor, took us out doing stuff. And my wife walks in, oh my God, he's had a stroke. Oh, hang on. No, it's the Galactic Federation. Don't worry about it. And, 10 minutes later, I was back because, of course, You can have a meeting for a whole day or 5 days because there's no time there. You can be there at this time, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then the meeting's over. So, it's happened a couple of times. But normally they give you notice and, lie on the bed and say, okay, we're ready to go. Off you go. And you're out for a while, then you come back in. If they take your soul out of your body, of course it's an umbilical cord, but, you're still not present. You're completely passed out. It's like being in a coma, I guess.
So how did you become a member of the Galactic Federation?
I've always been there. I've always been there. My whole soul was created to do this work. Police time, space, help different planets out. We've done it all over the universe in different time spaces. And once you're Melchizedek being, you are one. And so in this time, we're helping this planet to increase its vibration. At the moment, I hear a lot of people who channel and things saying, "Oh, we're almost 80% there," and I'm kind of thinking, "Are you sure you're on the same planet? Because I'm not seeing it." I mean, come on, And the deal is this: that we're about 2.5% of people awake, and we need to get to a collective of 8.7. So we're working on it. Now, what's going to accelerate it? Well, one of the biggest problems down here is that the reptilians, like the Anunnaki, Draconians, and all them, live under the planet. So do the Luciferians. The Luciferian, if no one knows, is part of the Vatican and all this stuff. So they're here, but they're violated free will, so they're not meant to be here. So how do you get them off the planet? They're low vibrational creatures, so they're trying to take over the surface. How do they do that? Well, they can't breathe high levels of oxygen. So that's why people like Gates, which are reptilian hybrids, and all these people try and, spray in the sky to block the sun out so that it'll kill the plants off. So you get a reduction in oxygen so these things can come up on the planet. And believe you me, you don't want these things up on the planet. So how do we get rid of them with no karma? Well, the Global Enlightenment Project, the Pyramid Project, is basically we're building with the Arcturians off-planet pyramids. The biggest one is 999 feet tall, 0.999 feet tall. The second one is 666.666 feet tall. And the smallest one is 333.333 feet tall. Now, if you really look carefully, you'll see it, it's biblical. It was predicted, it's biblical. So it's like, the Giza pyramids were built by the Arcturians, so they were brought down here as well. So they've been building them for about 2,000 years. They have off-planet technology. They're stargates. They're going to be very powerful. So what are they going to do? Well, the biggest one, they're on the Golden Curve, but the largest one sits on the Ley Line. And it's going to be in America. So what they're doing is they're sitting on the Ley Line at a juncture. And that means that when they're all powered up, it's going to inject so much energy into the Ley Lines, it'll first of all blow out all the satanic symbology in the Ley Lines, which there's plenty of it. And secondly, it's going to increase the vibration of the planet, which means that these low vibrational beings below the planet can't exist. So they'll either leave or they'll perish, and that's up to them. So it's a big project. It's known by, I don't like the word white hat, people who love humanity. It's known by them, so we're working on it at the moment. It's going to cost a lot of money, 100,000 acres. It's probably going to cost about $200 billion to create a infrastructure so people can come see them. Because if these things arrive out of nowhere, people say, "Oh my God, I want to see them. It's God stuff," which would be great. But you've got to create an infrastructure so people can see them and keep them safe. So we're working on that at the moment.
You mentioned ley lines a couple of times. You know, sort of explain what a ley line is and how that is sort of important to all this work that you do.
Yeah, it's the energy lines on the planet, and they have they have different types of ley lines, but the main ley lines have a lot of energy flowing through them. And what the deep state, the reptilians or whoever you want to call it, the people from the Illuminati or Cabal, what they've tried to do is put symbology to try and attenuate these ley lines. So because you need the energy flowing around the planet, And in fact, I was, when I was, I think it was about 2008, I went to Kauai it was in Hawaii, and that's actually where all the ley lines actually come in. It was very powerful, amazing place. So, but it's important to get those fired back up so that the planet can actually revibrate itself, and then it'll clear all these reptilian elements off it, and also reptilian hybrids, which are infiltrated in the government systems.
So you mentioned off-world pyramids, or off-planet pyramids, sorry. Where are these pyramids?
They're being built in the 12th dimension, different time and different space on a different planet, Arcturus. So it's built by the Arcturians, and they're huge.
So this is obviously quite sort of mind-blowing information, and to be
You're
fair,
going to get off this. I think this guy was absolutely nuts. Don't invite him back. Bless your heart.
We're open to all conversations, but so extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Essentially, how can people listening to this podcast? Obviously, the people that listen to podcasts are open to a lot of stuff because we talk about all sorts of subjects: reincarnation, multi-dimensional beings, etc. But how can you provide some kind of accuracy to the information you're giving? Because obviously, this off-planet pyramids and all the work that you're doing, which sounds like absolutely great work, but it's quite fantastical experiences you're having. How can you prove some of this is happening for people that are on the fence?
Well, if you're on the fence, for example, with the healings, just, we do a free healing. Well, it's a healing by donation 3 times a week. Monday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time. Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time. And Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. So if you don't believe it works, just come on them, experience it, and if you think it's all bullshit, that's okay, but, I think you're going to be surprised at, what happens and, experience the healings. As far as the pyramids are concerned, how do you show people in a different time and space that, oh, there they are? You could meditate on it, and if you're really connected to the God realm, they may show you them. I know a lot of people have seen them. A lot of people know about this pyramid project, especially Starseed. So meditate on it, and meditate on my name. Show me these pyramids that we're building. I'm not building them. The Arcturians are building them. I'm just a facilitator, really, to get the land down here and get them down here, for humanity, because they will heal things like instantaneously. They're really ancient technology, but to us, they're like off the charts technology, But it's ancient technology, thousands and thousands of years old. So, can I prove the pyramids? The proof actually is the pudding, and I'm very much a person. I don't want to talk is cheap. Show us, and we'll be able to show you next year. When these things start coming down, because they'll just appear, and oh my God, how did that appear overnight? You can't possibly build it. There's not enough moldavite on this planet to build those things that size anyway. So that will, the proof the pudding is going to be in the doing. But the healings I can prove to you now.
And this isn't me trying to call you out on anything. We do have a lot of listeners across the broad spectrum of all different sciences and whatnot. So it's just interesting that you say about the proof is in the pudding. So from next year, we're going to be able to start seeing some stuff, which would be great. So you also are an author. As you mentioned, you've written a couple of books. What kind of books do you write? Is it around healing, or is it about other subjects?
Yeah, I mean, the first book I ever wrote, I dictated. Don't say I wrote it. The ghostwriter wrote it, but I dictated.
We'll say wrote. We'll say wrote. That's fine.
Yeah, let's say wrote. I wrote it all by myself. No help at all. I didn't. The first one I wrote was Divine Healing. We're actually updating that. That was about 5 years ago. That talks about the healing and how it works. Second book I wrote is Divine Transcendence. It's talking about the complete manipulation, including all the child stuff and everything. Disney stuff, everything else. That's called Divine Transcendence. The third book I wrote is about manifestation and getting in the place where you can manifest, surrender. And we have actually a technique where you can use it which is like an interim of manifestation. And it uses a pentagram. You may say, well, that's pagan, that's not good. All symbology can be used for good or bad. And, we use that symbology because we put the Magi, which is Melchizedek, writing around it. So, who, what, where, when, why. And if you burn it, release it, you'll find things will happen. And it's a good stepping stone to be able to manifest, when you don't believe anything. It kind of helps because it does work. And then, of course, to me, manifestation is all about being in the space, looking at gratitude. People, you talk to have a gratitude stone. Right, God, you got 5 minutes. Now, I'm grateful for my wife, my car, I've got a computer, and got a bit of freedom. And say, well, that's we're done now. I haven't got the time for it. Gratitude to me doesn't work like that. Gratitude is a way of life, and you can be grateful every second and minute of every day. And I am, I just thank God every day that I can do this and don't have to go back to a corporate world because truly I wouldn't want to be here. What's the point? I'm not going to waste my time on this planet. If I'm working in a corporate world, I want to do some incredible things, what I was meant to do. And so gratitude starts with gratitude. When you're grateful for things you have, more comes in. But, people just don't realize it. And surrender as well. When I built this ministry, we work on thousands of people. To give you an idea, it probably turns over $1.25 million. It's very busy, and it built like that because I just don't worry about money. I'm not interested. But one of the key instruments to running a spiritual business, and if anyone's thinking about that out there, have a listen to this. It's really important. Always allow, to pay out for other people to do the things you don't like. Can I do the IT? Well, yeah, I was trained in IT. Can I do it? Yeah. Do I want to do it? Oh, absolutely not. I don't want to touch it, so I'll let the IT guy do it. It's the same with the accounts. Do I like accounts? Well, with a father like mine, you've got to be kidding. I can't stand accounts. Not doing them. Don't want to look at, figures. Don't want to talk to the IRS. So I pay the accountant $1,500 a month and they do the whole thing. And so I can just now, because I feel so relaxed and everything else, you could just focus on your gift. So, I'm just telling people, don't be afraid. Don't keep the money to yourself. It's not your money. It's important to move it out so it recycles and, you get more of the same if you really believe it. So yeah, that's an important point, but manifestation. Then the other one is centering the mind. Because of all this stuff that's gone on, people are going really pear-shaped, like they're getting PTSD, ADD, ADHD. And, we've helped them trying some exercises, trying to, capture your thoughts and turn them to positivity. But also the neurochemical balance, if you have a lot of stress, you get PTSD or ADD, ADHD, OCD, because the glands in your brain are not functioning properly. And so the GABA, serotonin, which comes from the adrenals, but GABA and dopamine, all the rest of the neurochemicals are off balance. And so it's important not just to release the emotion with that, but to work on, the glands as well. And then we've got the history, truth, and healing of manufactured diseases, which is Morgellons, HIV/AIDS, Borrelia Lyme, and what's the other one? Agent Orange. So it's talked about how they work. It talks about the Morgellons particles, what they actually are. It's not just graphene oxide, it's a whole slew of things in it. It's got chips in it, CMOS chips, 0.1 of a nanometer small. It's got, different nylons bound to it. So all this is kind of tantamount to bioweapons, but, and they've tested it on people's bodies because it grows through the body, What do you need for growth? Carbon. Oh, well, you've got carbon, graphene oxide. The second thing is you need oxygen, you need moisture, and you need warmth. 4 things. And the stuff, what it does is it starts to replicate in the body if your immune's damaged. And, of course, the immune, RNA, DNA, and immune systems kind of connected, damage the DNA, and stuff's going to replicate. So that's one of the things I've been really looking at.
So the healing, sort of want to go back to briefly. Obviously, like the sort of divine healing, spiritual healing, that sort of thing is quite controversial. And obviously, if people sort of reject modern practical medicine and favour sort of spiritual medicine or healing, you've had a lot of fallout from like the mainstream, like public, for the type of healing that you do.
Yeah. I think you're nuts. They used to go to the doctors, well, get a pill, but if you look at pills, they're all based on refinement of some element in maybe herbs or whatever. They've refined it to the point where, for example, would you eat a strawberry today? If I give you a strawberry, would you eat it?
Yeah.
It's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's got cyanide in it. It's a trace, but it's got cyanide. So if I got, I don't know, 500 tons of strawberries and I refined the cyanide of it and gave you a pill and said, well, it's from strawberries, would you eat that? And the answer is probably not, And it's the same with Big Pharma, they're refining stuff that, makes people sick, and of course, all the nanotechnology they're putting in things now, it's really making people sick. It's giving them Morgellons and things. So, yeah, of course they put it down because it's a multi-trillion-dollar business, and they don't want people finding out that, well, okay, you can get rid of cancer because it's spiritual healing, because it's a lot cheaper than going through chemo, radiation, and which destroys the body, of course. So, again, it's my opinion, but these things work. What's the primary cause of cancer? Oh, that would be emotion. Secondary cause, pathogens mutate in the cells, turns into tumours. So the tumour's really looking at you and saying, hey, you better pay attention to me or I will pay attention to you because your body's off balance. So if you get rid of the primary cause, emotion, get rid of that. Get rid of the pathogens of the body. We have techniques to do that. We have a protocol, a 20-week program. And then the tumour, we just fry it using this space-time continuum and it disappears. And it's not just in remission, it's gone forever because, you've dealt with all the causes of it. And I think that's what's important. If you have chemo radiation, they'll say, oh, you're in remission, which what they're telling you is, well, got rid of it for now, but it's going to come back. Maybe 5 years, maybe 2 years, whatever. What's the point in going through all that just to get another 2 years of your life? The answer is, does not, but again, it's my opinion, so it's interesting.
So can you just talk me through a little bit? So say I come to you with a cancer and I say to you, can you help me? What's sort of the process that you do to then sort of start your sort of treatment for me?
Well, normally I'd have a one-to-one session, remote view it, see how bad it is. Now, the cancer solution to me is that, you've got to get the pathogens out of your body because they're mutating the cells. That's the secondary cause. And you've got to rid of emotion. Now, we have a protocol. It's, I said to you before that the Melchizedek beings created the Akashic records. Why is that? Why do you need Akashic records? Well, you need them because, in the future, in your futures, in my futures, you've got infinite timelines. You can do your podcast. You can go be a doctor. You can go rob a bank and be in jail for the rest of life. Infinite timeline. It's your choice, but the past timeline has actually been locked down. That's the timeline of your life in the record. So the reason why they had Akashic records is because if you go back on your timeline in a time machine, which they've done, and you go back, for example, to 1936, and they say, well, we want to take Hitler out. You can't. Why is that? Because his timeline's already happened. You can't change that timeline from your timeline. You see what I mean? So, and then you go back on that timeline again, but you can't get off it. You can't go and mess with his or do anything else from that timeline. So that stops people from altering the time, space, and history and messing the whole planet up. So, which is a good thing. But in the future, you've got infinite timeline. So you're on a timeline now. So what we do is, I've got the ability there's two Melchizedek beings do this on this planet, and it can split your timeline in two. So what we do is split it in two. You're going to path divine alignment, complete wellness, where all the pathogens and all the, nanotech and all the stealth pathogens like Lyme, HIV, AIDS is out the body. And on the other timeline, all the stuff, which is the Borrelia, HIV, nanotech, everything else, is split out the timeline to the sun. So as it separates, it actually starts to separate out of the body. And like I say, it just keeps going. It's a 20-week program because, with Lyme and HIV, AIDS and all these things, it's no use just splitting out of the body because, I don't know if you guys know, but in the chemtrails, there's Borrelia in the chemtrails. Now, it's delivered through nanotech. So everyone's got Borrelia, but not everyone gets Lyme. People think it's all from ticks. Well, it's not, but, it's what it is. So how do you stop it from replicating in the future? Well, like I said before, if your DNA is damaged, then the immune is not creating the right response. It's creating a response, but not the right response. It allows it to replicate in the body. So what you've got to do is also do a DNA change to reset your DNA back to the blueprint it should be in the Akashic records, and that stops in the future of getting Lyme and getting Morgellons or anything else. So that's an important point. So it's a protocol, So Yeah, I mean, you come to us, we talk to you, probably do a healing. You could feel attacking energy. It makes the tumors kind of sting quite a bit, or they tighten, or they feel like they're burning. But it breaks down the molecular structure. But it's no use getting rid of the tumor because it'll come back. You've got to get rid of the primary cause of motion and secondary cause, the pathogens mutate in the cells. So we take care of the whole thing.
So, on that kind of note, where we're talking about pathogens and whatnot, and the chemtrails, you mentioned briefly, and it's quite a profound thing, that you said you were dusted by a bioweapon. And it's a similar kind of pathogen that you said MI6 use. Can you?
Well, it is the one that. Yeah. I mean, I went to a conference where I was speaking about the stuff I speak about, and I remember going past somebody, and I felt like a wetness on my arm. I looked around, couldn't tell who had done it, but all they have to do is spray it. Like little spray. It looks like water, and what it was is a solvent. It's a tumularia is a particular bacteria from rats that's very aggressive. And then it's got a binding agent which binds it to cells. So what they do is they just dust you with it and then you get really sick. Now, I'm working with a world-leading toxicologist. She's the lady who's taken people to court because of Morgellons, because they've been dusted with these bioweapons. She's proved it because she's done a toxicology report of your body. And, they've won. And so she did a, toxicology report on my body and massive high levels of solvent. I've forgotten what it's called, but I've got it here. The solvent was banned after 1960 because it goes through the body too quickly. And so it's making people sick. So I found this solvent, found the tumularia, and also found the binding agent. That was the three things I had in my body. I thought, so we worked on it and, we've got rid of it. Tachinized it, killed off that, detoxed my body. And now it's gone, but it kind of collected in this like egg thing, the best side of my face. I've got to deal with that now. So, but, these things happen. 289 times they've tried to take me out. And the first one was when I was born, 8 strokes. Second one, I burnt my back. I was in hospital for a year when I was 4. And yada, yada, there's loads of things. And one of them was actually I was in Delhi when I was, I don't know why I went to see the Dalai Lama. Anyway, I went there. He wasn't there. He was with Obama, but that's okay. So on the way back, I was in the northern, you fly all this way and the guy's not there. Okay, whatever. So that's kind of God saying, nah, we're not doing that. So I didn't do it again. But I got to the northern camp, Tibetan northern camp in Delhi, and I got this overwhelmed. They said to me, change your ticket. Now, this was when I was absolutely didn't have any money at all. It was £70 to change the ticket. I thought, that's like the last money I've got. I said, well, change the ticket. Why? Just change the ticket. If they say it 3 times, you better be doing it. Okay, so I did it, changed the ticket. Went back about 4 days later. On the day in the airport where the plane should have taken off, it didn't. It went down the runway and blew up at the end of the runway and killed everyone on board. So I said, was that meant for me? And they said, well, yeah, So I blessed everyone on board. It's what it is. They mess about. But I think one of the things people say, oh my God, they're after me. Well, what you've got to do is get an inner strength, an inner faith that nothing's going to touch you, and that could be infinite. If you have that level of faith, the universe will create a new reality. So, for example, if someone's pointing a gun at you, think about this. You're looking at it and you're starting to squeeze the trigger. How many people would have the faith to create a new reality where you don't get shot? Either the gun jams, but you've got to no, you're not going to touch me, and the gun will jam, or you'll have a heart attack, or something will happen, but you won't get shot if you really believe it. But most people don't. They go, oh my God, he's going to shoot me. So you're manifesting your own demise. So that's something quite out the box that, is difficult to process, but it's in your hands. And that's why I don't believe in guns. Do what you like. People have guns here, and that's okay. They need it because they don't have the faith. But I don't. I don't need a gun. I don't worry about anything. I never worry about getting taken down or anything because my faith is absolute, which means it's infinite, So I know the universe or God has got my back, and I think that's an important point.
So you mentioned that they've tried to take you out. Who are they?
The deep state, whatever you want to call them, CIA, MI6, you got FBI. I know FBI watchers. you've got a whole host of people, and if they don't like what you're doing and what you're saying, which I just tell the truth, and if they don't like it, I don't know what to tell you, but it's like this. And I know who it is. I remember about 3 months ago, I felt like the FBI were watching us, and they were just checking to see whether we were a cult or not. And of course, we're not. You can do your business stuff or not, but they do check you out, and I felt them. So we've got contacts, White Hat in the deep state, where they phoned up and they were watching. And what's the result? Yeah, they're happy. You're doing your stuff. So they do check on you, of course, because if you get more popular, they don't like it. They don't like it at all. So it's what it is. So it's incredible.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Global Enlightenment Project and sort of what you guys do there? Where can people find you there? And how you
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we do all the healings. We've got the website, Global Enlightenment Project. It's part of Christopher Macklin Ministries, the project of that. If you go to globalenlightenmentproject.com, you can have a look at healings. We have a ton of meditations, and they're really guided meditations. All you have to do is lie there and listen to them, and they'll do stuff. It's not like, you have to, focus on the light coming and everything else. The Melchizedek beings, by my voice invocation, will turn up and do things. Books are on there as well. A little bit about the Pyramid Project, and like I say, we've got these healings by donation 3 times a week. And I always tell people, look, if you've got no money, look, I've got the T-shirt on that one. Let me tell you, so don't worry about it. Just come on, because it's going to help raise your vibration. If you think about it, one of the key elements is that if you've got an attachment of a being, and most people who come to healings, probably 99% of people have some sort of attachment, an off-planet being, then, you need to remove it, because otherwise you're going to get really depressed. It's going to destroy the L4, L5 disc and yada, yada. So, we're there to help you get out of that so you can get your vibration up, because once you get your vibration over a certain level, these beings can't get within your energy field. So how do we stop it happening whilst your vibration's low? We have to say a prayer or a map of intent to keep them out. And I always recommend, again, on the website, there's plenty of, in quotes, prayers or maps of intent to say to keep these things out, And the most powerful one is the 27 Esoteric Merkaba field prayer. So, and the other thing we do is every 120 days, we do a God ritual, and there's normally a lot of people on it. We did up to 4,000 people on it, where we basically go through a ritual where we call out all the big pharma, all the big tech, all the things, satanic things that are happening, the people, Masonic Lodge, you name it, and bring them before God for justice and release them to God with unconditional unforgiveness. That actually helps break down this satanic rituals they're doing against us. So we do that, once every 120 days. A very powerful exercise. So please join in. We need as many people as possible, because this is not about me. It's not about man. It's about all of us. We've got to all join in to get this planet back to where it should be, in my opinion.
So what's the goal? Well, as you mentioned earlier, about 2% of the population are woke, as it is, or awake to it. But you need 8.7%. So say you get up to that number and enough population are awake to it, what happens then?
Well, I think the transition will be into a much higher place, but what I see is a bifurcation of the third dimensional. This third dimensional thing will start collapsing, and the actual fifth dimension will be something very different. You'll switch into the fifth dimension where you don't have to worry about money. You can manifest anything. It's much more, it's all about loving and everything else. So it'll be a completely different world. So, and that's, my goal, to try and just help people get there. If they get there, great. If they don't, well, that's okay. So, I think it's really important. It's a duality split that's going to happen. And, there's a lot of change at the moment. People are waking up. But, awake, I'm talking about awake when, people have done their work. They just feel like warriors. They feel amazing. Some people are waking up, I think there's something wrong with things going on, I know it's the Queen's Jubilee, but I don't know what to tell you, but never mind. Am I celebrating? I'm British. That'd be a nope, but it's just what it is. Bless her, but, we'll just bless her. But I think, all these reptilian elements, all these people, the hybrids and everything else, they're going to start collapsing. This whole thing's collapsing as the vibration gets higher. So that's the goal, to get people back and unslaved, back to their sovereign selves. I always tell people, I'm not your guru. I don't want to be a guru. I want you to show up, for yourself and become a sovereign being so that, then, you can step out in the world and help people. Because look how many people need help. I mean, I can't do it all alone. You guys can't do it all. We're all in this together. You know what I mean? So, I don't believe in gurus. That's the thing of the past where you better follow me and get your checkbook out, give me all your money, and we're good to go. It doesn't work like that. We just, I'm just a facilitator to get people back to their sovereignty and get good God connection where you can use your intuition, where you can really navigate life properly.
Awesome. So where can our listeners, you mentioned the website there and you mentioned some books, where can our listeners find your books and more about you? Are they available on Amazon?
Yeah, on the website. They're on Amazon, but they're on the website. I'd go to the website, globalenlightenmentproject.com. Everything's on there. The prayers, use it all. It's there for you. And we're just here to help as many people as possible. So, bless your heart.
Awesome. Thanks.
So, thanks for joining us. It's been absolutely fascinating and a slightly different take on, and it's a slightly different take on stuff that we talk about with other people. So, it's always great to hear new people to us and our listeners. So, thank you very much for sharing your experiences. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Ash. Thanks, Greg. Bless your heart. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Bless your heart.
Pursuit of the Paranormal with Ash and Greg.